Hello, Chuck. How you guys doing? How you doing?
My son started watching all his
My dad retired. We don't cost it. Yeah. That's coming up. My tax, I'm like, yo, you late for dinner? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you just passed. He goes, I did? I'm like, how do you miss it? I did. Yeah, that giant white, red, white, blue. Well, we passed. Yeah, opposite direction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure where.
You're smart. You got a sweater on.
So, do you think they were serious or not?
No, where's up?
Were they all there?
No, what the older guy was.
John? Wasn't.
And Josh was not antagonistic, except for his arm crossed, miserable. George was happy.
It is. That's
Everyone else seemed okay. But no way to tell anything.
Yeah, I get the
my property is very much all on the shore. Oh, wow. Yeah. So if they come in and do the expansion, the first one, you know, they gotta come in. They gotta come in. Whatever card you're in a domain or. Now, were you in Fairways? I was. Yeah, like a year. My oldest daughter. Did I not? There we go. What year was that? 10 years ago? 09 to 02. The draft.
I know, she needs a little bit more attention. Yeah.
Somebody that's gonna get a lot of money.
Right.
How was that kind of?
Oh, yeah.
I was in Pittsburgh. I couldn't think about fast. Kids were like, I was like, my nose. It would be 25 seconds. I mean, it was like, no. I was ripped up. I've never really. Oh my gosh, they really are. Halloween events. They all come out. That's actually, that's adorable. It really, yeah, that's a really
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. We have a couple of procedural items. You'll see there's a little podium here. When you want to speak, I ask that you come to the podium. Again, state your name and address for the record. That's very important. Even if you're known to us or you've commented earlier, that helps our secretary take the minutes. So we'll start with citizens to be heard. Again, this is only on agenda items. It looks like we have two that are on agenda items for the Edges Mill flex space. Do you want to speak now, or do you want to wait until that item is on the agenda?
until.
You can wait until also. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that all the other.
Mark Young, 20 Beaver Run. I'm on there for Ingleside.
Ingleside is not on the agenda.
It says right here, Ingleside Golf Manager, Mr. Ward.
It gives an update on the golf course, but.
That's what I'm questioning.
Okay. First, can you please come to the podium? And
Is this so early? Yeah, that's fine.
do you want to speak about it now, or do you want to wait until he is giving his report?
I was going to wait until after his report was done because I have questions about the finances.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Camp. You're up.
I don't have you done. front of me because it wasn't enough, so I apologize. Okay, I gave mine away. This is, and the applicant is here, so the applicant can present whatever they want, but this is a land development that's been in the township for quite some time now. It is G. Antonini Realty Limited. They are the equitable owner of the property at 4060 Edges Mill Road. They are seeking preliminary/final land development plan approval. This started out as actually as a zoning application in June of 2016. The zoning hearing board granted the applicant a variance so that the requirement for the proposed flex building did not have to be serviced by public water, which was a requirement under zoning. They did impose a condition that if a public water main is installed in Edges Mill Road within 300 feet of the property, then the building must be connected to public water. So that's how this application started. It then went to a conditional use hearing before the Board of Commissioners. On April 12, 2018, the Commissioners approved a conditional use decision which allowed this flex space in this particular zoning district, which is the C2 Regional Commercial Zoning District. The property is also in the Route 30 bypass interchange overlay, as well as the Historical Preservation Overlay District. The applicant seeks to construct a single-story building containing 19,640 square feet to be used as flex space. The plans were prepared by D.L. Powell and Associates, dated October 23rd, 2017, last revised October 19, 2018. Planning Commission did recommend approval with various waivers. I have a draft decision for the board to consider, which would grant preliminary/final approval. The property would have to be in compliance with all relevant zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, stormwater ordinance, unless, of course, the variance was the one variance I mentioned. And there are a few waivers that are being requested and the Planning Commission had no problem with. And they are to not require curbing or stabilized shoulder along Edges Mill Road. As consideration for the grant of the waiver, the applicant would pay a fee in lieu of curbing. They are asking a waiver to not install sidewalk along Edges Mill Road. The Planning Commission was comfortable with that. And said again, as consideration for the grant of the waiver, applicant would pay a fee in lieu of sidewalk. They also wanted a waiver from one of the requirements in the SALDO with respect to what growth rate was appropriate to use in their traffic study. And the traffic consultant did not have a problem with the waiver being granted to allow a growth rate of 1.75%. They also have a stormwater ordinance waiver to allow a pipe slope of less than 1%, and then another one relating to the design of infiltration facilities with respect to the way the geology of the property is. So the proposed motion would grant approval. One of the issues that was left for the board to have consideration of was the architecture of the building. That was one of the conditions in the conditional use approval. Because this property is in vicinity of historic resources, the board, under the provisions of the zoning ordinance, had a requirement that you as the board got to approve the architecture from the sides of the building that are facing the historic resources. The applicant has forwarded to Ms. Denny architectural renderings that were prepared, that were circulated via email to the board, that would be attached to the decision. That if the board is satisfied with the architecture substantially similar to the plans that were circulated, that would be how the condition is read. I don't know if the board is comfortable with this architecture. Again, it's specific to the sides of the facade that face the historic resources. As far as the other conditions, they're fairly boilerplate as far as all the motions that we do here. We require, obviously, the appropriate sewer capacity agreements with the municipal authority, payment of all applicable fees for that sewer capacity and tapping fees, execution of the development agreement and a financial security agreement, posting of the financial security with the township, paying all necessary fees that are owed to the township, paying for the fee in lieu of open space. That fee would be $16,792.20. Another standard condition is securing all regulatory permits that would be required from outside agencies such as NPDES permit, planning module approval, erosion and sedimentation control, adequacy letter from the conservation district. So that would obviously be a condition. And then the rest are just administrative, such as the recording of the plans, providing a recorded copy, and that's it. Just providing a digital file to the township. So that is a proposed motion for consideration. I guess the discussion point at this is specific to the architecture, because I hadn't heard back from the board on the architecture.
I have a few questions
Sure.
that I wanted to ask. When we were going over this in the historic meeting, we were talking about it. Well, it's kind of hard to tell looking at the pictures, so they're black and white. Okay. What's the color for
I have a color one. I have a color one. It was sent as a
I
color
have
one.
another color.
Go ahead, why don't you show them?
Okay, that's what I
And
wanted.
if you want to speak to the architecture, it's your building.
Great. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Was what is, okay, because the last meeting we had discussed that it was going to be either a beige or a tan. Is this considered white or?
Beige.
It is beige? Okay, that's. Thank you. Now, aside from the cement and the stone base along the foundation, is the building mostly steel construction?
Yes.
It is steel construction. All right, does this include the vertical panels on the east and west sides and currently on the rendered plain north and south sides?
It shows all sides.
They are, there was a multi-page plan.
Multi-page.
There's 3 pages to it. Right, 4 pages.
I mean, I can see them more so now, like your vertical lines. Does it, was that's what it looks like, when I can see it. All right, and on some of these pictures, are there 3 entrances? Is it like 3 separate buildings?
There are 3 separate.
3 separate buildings.
It's one connected building.
One
It's
building,
3 tenant
three-
spaces.
Three separate areas.
Okay, 3 separate,
Two dividing walls.
okay. Yeah, because we, at the historic meeting, had thought that it was gonna look on the north side more in terms of barn-like vertical panels, but you're still getting you're getting the horizontal panels in on the areas that will be facing, Edges Mill.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I know. Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. This helped.
So that was, I mean, I, again, that was probably one discussion point.
That's
sort
what
of
my
the-
concern was. I didn't want it to be like Snow White jumping out of the plants. And
Lorraine, I can add to the proposed condition that I did attach the plan so we can make it clear that it is a beige color.
Yeah.
We can add that wording.
okay, I appreciate that.
Sure.
That would be nice. Thank you very much.
Any other thoughts
Oh.
on the plans?
Just a thank you.
Oh.
Any other thoughts on it? I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Your part, sure, it's record. Okay, so I'll entertain the motion to grant the preliminary final land development approval for the building at 4060 Edges Mill Road.
Excuse me.
We will have discussion after. We make the motion and then I call for discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to consider the motion granting preliminary final land development approval for the flex space building at 4060 Edges Mill Road.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Chambers and seconded by Commissioner Tindaro. Any comments or questions from the board? No? Okay. If you have a comment or question, again, please come up to the front. Sure.
Hi, Kathy Callahan, 931 Bonsville Road. Can we see the picture? I mean, I trust you guys know what you're doing with that part.
You can take this as attached, but I would like to, sure, but
Uh-huh.
4 pages.
Of just what we see from Edges Mill. I like it. I think it looks nice. I think it looks very nice. If we have to have it, it looks very nice. Can I ask, because I didn't hear it tonight, and I know it was, I thought it was part of the plan, that no large trucks can come from Bondsville Road and
That's
head
in the
out.
conditional use. So all the conditions of conditional use are carried over. and
I think it looks
don't go
very
away.
nice. Like I said, I certainly didn't want it, and everybody knows that. But it looks very nice. I want to thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments from the floor?
Cheryl Spalding, 406 Lloyd Avenue, downtown. I just have some comments, but I also have a question. Did I miss something about they're not putting in a water line to this building?
They got a
Something was said
variance,
about
they got a
water line.
variance. Does
To
that
have no water.
to have no public water? They're
Oh, they're
using
gonna put a well in.
on-site water, yes.
Okay. Threw me a curve. I'm trying to imagine how you're gonna do a building like that without bathrooms. Okay. Is there any outside storage for this property? Will be any outside storage permitted?
Whatever our ordinance would permit.
What does it permit?
I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head, but that's not part of this application right now. They haven't sought specific approval for outside storage.
Do they have to have specific approval for outside
I
storage?
don't have the ordinance in front of me, so I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, that's a big question, because quite frankly, I can tell you flex buildings frequently wind up with huge amounts of outside junk. Cars, if it's a boat repair place, you drive any of these flex places, and you're gonna see a whole lot of stuff. Pallets, all kinds of crap. I would think that would be, frankly, a pretty big issue. Both for you in particular, because of your house, but also because, what do you want there? So I don't know why that wasn't addressed, because I think it needed to be addressed, and I think it needs to be addressed, and that brings me to a question. You're asking tonight to give preliminary and final together. There's a specific reason that you give preliminary approval and final approval later. And one of the reasons you do that is for exactly this incident. Because there are things about this project that are going to come up. I mean, it's just a natural part of life. Are they going to who's going to be the tenants? Are they going to have outside storage? Between the preliminary and the final, there should be this period where you get to flush out those things. And I'm bothered about the fact, I'm uncomfortable with the fact that this township is preliminary, final together.
There's still a permit process that has to be done, and they have to comply with all the conditions before they receive their permit.
But that's
It started
only-
in June of
But I
2016.
understand, but that'll take me to the next question before I go on to that. My point of that is, issues like the outside storage are not permitted, so that's not gonna come up. That's just a good example, but
Nobody said it wasn't permitted. There's probably a zoning ordinance requirement. I don't know the zoning ordinance requirement off the top of my head. So just to say that I can't answer your question doesn't
Oh, I
mean it won't be
understand.
addressed.
No.
And it was done through a conditional use process, so there is
But
conditional use.
you can't say to this board tonight that outside storage is a part of the permitting process.
What I can tell you is that the applicant will be required to comply with the outside storage requirements in the zoning ordinance as anybody else in this township is required to. So,
But you don't know what they are, and they don't know what they are tonight.
and it
That's
shouldn't,
fair.
it shouldn't matter on approval of a land development plan that complies with the subdivision ordinance.
Okay.
Approval of a land development plan is if the
I
applicant, I want to say something, please.
Yes?
If the applicant proves and demonstrates that they comply with the regulations in the subdivision and land development ordinance, which is what this application is, they're entitled to approval.
But they're not entitled to approval of permanent and final on the same night.
No, but for a
Thank you.
project, I will let
Yeah.
Mr. Kulikowski
That was
speak to that. I specifically asked him tonight if he was comfortable with that, because he goes to the planning commission meetings, and he does the technical planning reviews. And I'll let Brian speak for himself as to whether or not you're comfortable with preliminary and final.
But it's a matter of being comfortable with it. All I'm saying to you is, for what it's worth, I don't think it's a good policy. And I'll leave it at that. I just think it's a poor policy. And lastly, this is a good example of the lack of information. There are townships in this county that when a process is started, it starts on the webpage, where information about a project, frequently including drawings like this one, are actually posted on the webpage to show what's happening in the township. This has been going on since when? 2012, 2014, I don't know, 12, 16. And I know nothing about it, and I come to all the meetings. So I can assure you that all the rest of the people in the township don't know about it either.
I just think it's time for this township to look at their process of providing information through the webpage to say, okay, we've got these things lined up, here's where they stand, here's the plan if we have anything. I think the opportunity, I think it's time to address that. It's not specifically about this one, but this is a good example. Because I would bet you, if you ask anybody in this room, or you walk up and down the street, in the street, you're gonna go, they're all gonna go, well, I didn't know that was going there. And I think that you have an obligation to say to the residents, this is what's going on, because you frequently criticize them for not coming to meetings. If more people knew what was going on, they would have more interaction, and that's all. I'm not asking you for your thing, but for what it's worth. Okay, okay, that's it. Thank you.
Mike, you had a question? Yeah.
Mike Bedrick, 1701 Olive Street. The question is there going to be an improvement on the density of the foliage on Edges Mill and on either of the other sides? Because there's still historic properties and there was some concern to make sure that there's some increase in the density so that they have some improvement. Because a lot of the growth is old. And
one of the conditions is the applicant must provide additional landscaping of evergreen trees along the frontage of the property on Edges Mill Road to provide for an increased buffer, and this was specifically depicted on a landscaping plan that was submitted in reference.
Is there any address to the east and west side? Because I'm just saying, I know the properties a little bit, and there's a lot of older trees that would they be conducive to at least planting one row or a few? Because as time goes on, they may need to do trimming of these older trees to avoid damage to the property, and if they would do something to replace.
The landscaping plan was compliant with the landscaping ordinance with the addition of additional trees along Edges Mill Road. But the buffering along the sides is required by the ordinance for landscape buffering between a commercial and a residential property was provided.
All right, so it is or it might be? Or?
It is buffered per the requirements of the ordinance.
In other words, it's adequate standing as is.
And it also, one of the conditional use conditions was applicant shall not disturb areas of mature woodlands located along the western property boundary, and they must maintain the buffer set forth on the plans from the wetland and floodplain.
So basically no improvements, but hopefully not any detriment to what's currently existing.
Well, I think as far as improvements along Edges Mill Road, there are.
Right, I'm sorry. I
Yes.
want to be
Yeah.
precise. All right, well, thank you. I just wanted to put that concern out there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Camp?
That's it.
Mr. Floyd? Oh, I think these are questions.
Are these your copies?
Oh, they're his. Do you
Yeah,
want
hold on.
You guys can keep them.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate that.
And actually, I'll probably attach the large set to the signed copy that you have. So I'll take
This
them.
really helps.
Attach this.
Okay, Mr. Floyd?
Okay, I have two things for the board tonight. The first one I have is just an update on the planning commission meeting on April the 16th. The planning commission did meet and did discuss the application for the CCIU horticulture building. They are requesting 2 waivers from the stormwater ordinance. They are a waiver to allow a smaller pipe size and a less of a pipe slope than is what is the minimum requirements for the township ordinance. Specifically, this addresses roof drains for the building. The ordinance, the way it's written, requires roof drains to be 18 inches in diameter, and you don't need a big roof drains that big, so they asked if they could have smaller pipes for that. I don't have Arrow or myself, we don't have any objection to that. And the other stormwater waiver they requested is they are, as part of the project, there's an existing stormwater pipe that crosses the property. They're replacing it, putting in a junction box that can be cleaned. They can't provide the 2-inch drop in that box because of the existing pipe. It's just the slope is not there. So those are the only 2 waivers they've requested, and Arrow does not oppose either of them, and neither does the planning commission. They have a positive recommendation for that as well. So they will be in front of you at your next meeting in May, seeking preliminary final recommendation for building development for their property. Second thing I have for you tonight is, we discussed it at the last meeting, is I brought along a tentative schedule for the milestone dates for the 2019 paving program. So I can go over some of these dates and what they mean for the township. So what we are proposing to do is on May 3rd, which is next week, is send the invitation to bid over here to the township to be posted into the advertisement for the newspapers. Those advertisements will run the week of May 13th and May 20th in the appropriate newspaper. May 13th, the bid package will be made public on PennBid for any prospective bidders to view. On May 21st, a pre-bid meeting will be held here at the township for any prospective bidders who want to come to ask questions or meet with myself and Mike Fraggle to understand the project. The bids, questions on the bids will be accepted until midnight, or 11:59 p.m. on May 24th. June 4th, the bids will be opened here at the township building, and June 13th is the anticipated bid award at your June 13th commissioner's meeting. So that is the anticipated schedule, and then from June 13th, then we would establish the actual paving schedule with the awarded contract. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Mr. Polakowski? Oh, Mr. Desario.
I just couldn't hear what he was saying. Where's the paving at?
Where is the paving at?
Yeah.
The 2019 paving program will pave Geo Carlson Boulevard, a piece that was not done last year, so that's Bondsville, the other direction, heading east. We'll do Kingsway Drive, a small portion on North 11th Avenue, a portion of South Bailey, Wayne Avenue, the length of Wayne Avenue, and the entire length of Cal Meeting House Road. That is the anticipated program. It's about 1.9 miles of paving.
Now, if you're gonna do the boulevard, after they go with the,
I'm sorry,
Mr. Desario, can you please come up?
court.
Don't come.
I forgot my question. After they go up, they're gonna do a trunk line up, they'll do a line for the pumping station up the boulevard?
it actually will be going through the golf course, not through.
Oh, they're going through the golf course? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Polakowski? All right, anything else, Mr. Polakowski?
That's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilman Steady.
Mr. Fraggle had a family emergency, so he's not here. I'd rather wait for us back on the street sweeping until he's here to discuss.
Okay. Anything else for us?
No, not at this
Okay. Minute. There. I'll entertain a motion to adopt an ordinance guarantee agreement for the town township municipal authority.
You're not adopting it.
Oh,
No,
we're not.
this hasn't been advertised.
Oh,
This
okay,
is just the
then-
first
All right. so
first
this is-
review of it, just to, I guess, keep you apprised of what's going on. Christina, if you wanna jump in and explain, or,
What this is a motion for the advertisement for the Del Val funding for the municipal authority to complete the pump station project.
so the township will be, the actual loan will be from Del Val to the municipal authority, but the, Del Val requires the township, because you have the taxing power, you have to pledge the full faith and credit of your taxes as a guarantee. So under the Local Government Debt Act, there are very specific and, statutorily mandated obligations of how you go about entering that guarantee agreement. And this is actually something that I don't focus on. Somebody in my office, Steve McGuire, handles most of the municipal work with respect to bonds and financing. He looked at this ordinance and had a conversation with Calhoun Baker, who's the financial advisor that's advising the municipal authority. And they put together all the documentation. They have separate legal counsel. Helen Esenshade from Land Mackerlane actually drafted these ordinances. There are many attachments to this ordinance that we don't have yet, or we've not had an opportunity to fully review, and that will happen. You know, we've had a conversation resolution today from Calhoun Baker, and they are in the process of finalizing all those, and Chuck can jump in as well. But in terms of the timing, Kristen, I wasn't certain when you wanted them.
It would be the May 9th meeting.
The May 9th meeting. Okay.
So we would motion to advertise at the May 9th meeting or tonight.
Motion to advertise this evening for final approval in May.
And one of the things I know that the financial advisor is looking is for the debt statement. Is that something you're working on, Chuck? Borrowing-based certificate. Is that something you're working on? Okay. Okay. So we will coordinate, and I would actually ask if Calhoun Baker could come to the May 9th meeting to speak about the specifics of the note. The note with Delval is $2.4 million. Is that correct, Chuck? $2.8 million. $2.8 million. Okay. Well, this draft had $2.4 million, so it must have changed. Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to advertise the ordinance guarantee agreement for the Town Township Municipal Authority for final approval on May 9th.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Chambers, seconded by Commissioner Tindaro. Any comments or questions from the board? Okay, any comments or questions from the floor? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Okay, so we'll move on to the director's report. Is Deputy Chief Rock here?
He is not.
Okay. Unfortunately, Chief Elias had a family emergency, so couldn't attend. Fire Chief Donna Chief.
So for the month of March, you have a copy of the report. Just quick summary, we had 45 fire incidents, 41 quick response medical incidents. Our total in service time was 738 hours for the month. We have a very busy season coming up now, lots of events. This week we actually get to go out to the high school with the Students Against Drunk Drivers Club of Coatesville and participate in a mock crash for them where we get to educate the youth about drunk driving during the prime season and summer. So that's a great opportunity to be out with the young adults. Strawberry Festival, we're going to be participating in that again. And the last point is one of our members is being awarded Citizen of the Year by the Downingtown Thorndale Regional Chamber of Commerce. Actually, it's being awarded tonight. So it's pretty cool that he got that award. He was nominated and selected. So it's good. Yeah, we had the color run. We have lots of events going on. Color run. We have events up to high school parking, graduation, lots of events. So.
Which member got the Citizen of the Year?
Oh, Ron Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions for the Deputy Chief? One day. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Director of Buildings and Life Safety, Mr. Sacks. Okay. And
Skeleton crew here this week.
Mr. Fragel's not here, so we'll move on to Ingleside Golf Manager, Mr. Ward.
Good evening. You have my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to get to that. Other than that, the simulator started to pick up nice this month. We're up to about $800 for this month on the simulator. The Goose guy has been coming at least once a week, taking care of the nest. He's actually just here this evening. So that's moving along well. I'm enjoying some nice weather and things are going pretty well right now.
Any questions for Mr. Ward? I think we did have one audience question, so if you want to come up, Mr. Ward, you can sit back down.
Mark Young, 20 Beaver Run Road. I asked for and received, really not what I asked for, but the 2018 budget detail for Ingleside Golf Club. And while I can understand 2018 may not be available in all the financial numbers yet, there's delays for those things, I received the 2016 actual, 2017 budget, and 2017 projected. So I'm not sure why I would have two different numbers for budget or projected, so maybe that could be discussed. And then in 2018 proposed. And when I started overlooking some of the details, this is just high level view, just a few of the numbers. Whatever loans there are on the golf course, in principal and interest, in 2016, we paid $48,139. In projected for 2017, we're going to pay $146,000. That's 3 times the amount of principal and interest. So I'd like to
looking at two different numbers. You're probably looking at the audited financial statements, in which the principal goes against the balance sheet as an adjustment, and only the interest is in the income statement. Now, when we do a budget, because we have to pay the interest and principal, we budget the interest and principal.
a 3-fold increase.
It's the same as it was in the previous years.
What do you have here, what was given to me, was the 2018 budget detail, which doesn't match up to the financial statement, which I have here, which actually says that in 2017, the net position for the golf course was $17,221 for the policy. When I look at the 2018 budget detail, I'm looking at the golf course fund having golf course expenses $682,000. We'll go to profit and loss. We'll go to expenses and income. 2016 loss of $38,000. 2017 projected loss of $203,000, and 2018 projected loss of total accumulation of $302,935. So what you're writing here says we're going to be $300,000 in debt. Oh, we already are $300,000 in debt on that golf course.
As I indicated, the audit report is full basis accounting. Full basis accounting. The budget is prepared on a cash basis. So you're comparing apples and oranges. When the audit is complete, you will have a financial statement that will look comparable to the 2017 audit financial.
Okay, I'll give you that, but why don't I have 2017s now? Why am I only dealing with 2016 numbers?
You should have 2017, but
I requested it, put in a right to know, and asked for everything, and this is what I got was 2018. Asked for 16, 17, 18, and I got it 18, which includes actual numbers for 16, but no actual numbers for anything else.
We can send you 16 and 17 as well. I don't know why that wasn't sent here. That's available.
Well, I mean, portraying here, when I'm looking at this, there's just things that don't make sense. In 2016, you budgeted $1,270 for advertising. The golf course is losing money, correct? Yes, we know that's correct. So what do we do to help that? We cut the advertising budget down to $500. Does that make sense to anyone here? It certainly does not to me.
Do you want to speak to the golf course functioning, or do you not?
I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know what.
I have it here.
I can speak on that. On the advertising part of it, a lot of our advertising now comes through bartering through Golf Now, which is not, we don't actually pay them. They do our servicing for us, like our website and things like that for them, and they take a 2 tee times from us as a payment for that. So the advertising is still there, but it doesn't have to come out of our pocket, out of an expense like that.
Okay, so I don't seem to be getting anywhere with the financial numbers. Let's go to the website then. Let's talk about that. Here is the fee schedule for NS Grown to play golf. There right now for 2018. It is approximately 15 lines long with various short hurdle times. And the golf course is losing money, right? Correct? Mr. Wilson?
Pardon me?
The golf course is losing money?
Correct.
Okay. So we've got a very confusing rate sheet out there on our website. Vermont had Paxton Hollow. Lost money for a lot of years. They got their act together, made that course a lot nicer, website a lot nicer. It's a better course to play. Costs a couple more dollars to play there. That's their rate sheet. Very easy to understand, very easy to change on the website. Things should be understandable and improves people coming out. So, and then you have Innistrone, which is a highly rated golf course. 6 is PA by Golf Week. And some of their green fees are actually cheaper than ours, and I'm sorry, I played Ingleside. I know it's good parts and I know it's bad parts. The steps on number 10 are falling apart. I don't know why they don't get replaced.
Well, the Innisfree rates are not, we checked the rates, they're not cheaper than us. I don't know when you could be looking at winter rates. When did you look at the rates or when you have
Today.
it? Now, they have also special deals like we have.
I
That
saw
you can
that.
get on different, you can get on different websites.
Different tee times and stuff
Right.
like that, yeah.
So, I mean, we checked the website.
But this is right off the website straight. So I just think that spending some more time on the website, at least for advertising and getting it to something that looks like this, may help you get more people to play golf and make more money. And I'm really, I know you're talking about a cash balance and an accrual balance, and I'd just like to see that whole thing for 17 and 18.
Well, Mr. Wilson, you'll be able to get that over to him.
Okay, that's all I have for Ingleside. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, finance report, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, my report for the 3 months ended March 31st, 2019. There's nothing out of line at this point. Revenues are where we would expect them to be at this point. The bulk of our real estate tax revenue will be coming in the next Monday and Tuesday at the end of the discount period.
Have you received most of that already?
No.
No. They do come in last minute.
They come in last minute. The big mortgage companies and mortgage servicers send money in the last day.
Okay.
So, for the most part, the next couple of days are busiest of the year in terms of tax collection. On the expense side, the expenses are all 25% through the year, and the expenses
17%. That's what it says here.
yeah, I have the wrong one in front of me. Oh, the expenses are all under 25% for the most part. And if not, there's explanations noted there. Nothing out of line at this point.
Any other questions for Mr. Wilson? Okay, anything else, Mr. Wilson?
No, we are going to withdraw the second item there.
Okay.
We have a second item out for bid, and we will do both of those at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Do both at the next meeting?
Yes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve general manual check 44 and general checks 43157 through 43221.
I have a question.
Yes, Mrs. Spalding.
There's page 15. There's, I assume this is a payment from Wild Meadows to the township. Mr. Wilson, excuse me, are you awake? Thank you. Page 15. Yeah. I'd like to know what that was for.
That would have been for professional services to review the land development.
Paid back to us.
No, we pay the professional, the engineer, the attorney, the sewer engineer, the sewer authority attorney, and we are reimbursed from the developer.
So the $266.55 is out court.
Correct.
Have we got it back? Will we get it back?
We will get back.
Okay, that's one. The second is on page 6. Hydrants, and this is really a question relating to the flushing of the hydrants. The expenditure that's going out for the hydrants, what is that for?
We have to pay for each hydrant.
For the flushing of the hydrants?
No, we pay for each hydrant.
The hydrant rental is due.
It's a rental for the hydrant.
Is it per year or is it per quarter?
It's per year. Some go quarterly, and
I believe for Pennsylvania American, it's $300 a year per hydrant. And I believe Aqua is $600 per year per hydrant.
Okay, the reason I bring that up is because if you'll recall, they put in that new box to flush the hydrants at Lloyd Avenue Park.
Okay.
So they've stopped flushing hydrants completely. And my concern was that they're charging us for that new system that they put in?
We only pay
Only for the hydrants
just for the hydrant for a year.
and not for that new thing?
No.
Okay, that's all. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve general manual check 44 and general checks 43157 through 43221.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Motion made by Commissioner Chambers, seconded by Commissioner Young. Any comments or questions on the bill list? Anybody need to abstain from any bills? Okay, any other comments or questions on the bill list? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 4-0. All right, we'll move on to additional business. It's with great regret that I announce that Commissioner Contendo has submitted his resignation. Commissioner Contendo, as you know, has served on the municipal authority for many years and on our board. So we wish him well, and I hope you will join me in keeping him and his family in your thoughts and prayers. That being said, we will have a vacancy on our board that needs to be filled. So we need to work out the dates. Right. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept his resignation from Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Young, seconded by Commissioner Chambers. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, passes 4-0. Alright, so the way this will work is that we are filling a vacancy through December 31st, 2019. After that point, it would be a special election on the ballot for Mr. Contento's remaining 2 years of his term. So for the specific vacancy expiring in December, we will have an application process, much like we do for the rest of our vacancies on boards and commissions. We will have a deadline to submit the applications, and then we will have to have an interview evening for anybody that has submitted an application. We try to do it all in one evening, and it would be the 4 of us, and then we would vote to appoint the person at the next meeting. So we do need to figure out the timing of that. And just take a look at the calendar here. So we have 30 days.
30 days from today, which
From
is May
today.
25th, which is a Saturday.
So we have our first meeting on May 9th. I'm going to propose that we accept applications through May 9th and then have the interview evening on May 16th. And then we could have a special meeting, or we could combine our last meeting in May on the 23rd. No.
Your last meeting is the 30th.
Right, no, I'm saying we would
move it,
change
yeah,
it
you
to the
would change it.
23rd, or
Yeah.
we would have a special meeting just for the appointment and then have our regular meeting on May 30th. So those are the interviews would be the 16th. Those are the options. So we have to get it done by the 23rd. So what are your thoughts? Does that
Have the interviews on the 16th.
yes?
That sounds good.
And then the application deadline would be the 9th, which would give everyone enough time to submit applications, and then we can review them and have that all together. Then interviews on the 16th, and then what are your thoughts on moving our last meeting in May to the 23rd?
I'm going to be away on the 30th.
Okay.
Did you want to change it?
We would change it to the 23rd.
23rd to Thursday, is that
Yeah.
correct?
That's Thursday in May.
Okay.
That would work. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what are we doing on?
The 23rd would be a regular meeting, but we will vote to fill the vacancy on the 23rd.
This is the regular meeting.
And Kristen, if there's a, if we can't come to an agreement as the 4 of us, then
Then the vacancy board, which is the 4 of you and whoever you've chosen as the vacancy person, the 5 of you then have another 15 days to determine if you can pick somebody. You have to have a public meeting to vote on that. If after those 15 days, the vacancy board is unable to select somebody, then the Court of Common Pleas will select somebody.
Mr. Amadio is aware of, let him know today that we have a vacancy.
so he's ready if we need him.
Al, did Mayo. So what we'll do is then we'll put on our website an advertisement that we're seeking a vacancy, and on social media platforms. We'll have the application deadline be May 9th. We will have interviews scheduled on May 16th. I forget how long the interviews were last time. Was it a half hour or an hour?
What time are we gonna start that?
We would probably have to start around 7.
Okay.
That works? Okay, so we'll start at 7.
What's the earliest you can be here, Mr. Young?
6:30 is pushing.
I know.
So that's why I
That's how many applicants you
we'll
have.
have to see how many applicants we have, yes.
Just have to put on coffee or have a steak.
Okay, so we'll start, do you want to start at 7 or 6:30?
Yeah, 7 because I know I can be here.
All right, we'll start at 7 on Thursday the 16th. And again, Denise will schedule with anybody that's interested in applying. And then we will have our last meeting in May on the 23rd, at which time we will go to hopefully make our appointment and become a 5-member board again. If we can't, then we will call Mr. Miller. Okay, so I just wanted to give an update. We've been interviewing a lot of candidates for the other boards and commissions. We, I think, have our last 2 interviews scheduled for May 9th. Yes? I think.
No, you have one more, I think, June 6th, she couldn't make it.
Okay. Well, we'll figure out what committee.
It's for the historical.
Oh, okay. Then we'll probably move forward with making the rest of the appointments on the 9th. So we will shoot for making the appointments on May 9th. Thank you for your patience. We've had a lot of applicants and a lot of interviews. So that is for the remaining boards and commissions. And any other items of additional business? Anybody? Okay. All right, we'll move. Oh, County Pride Day is this Saturday. So you can join us as we clean up town. You can meet here at 8 a.m. and you can either plant flowers like I did last year. I got out of trash duty, and then before that I did picking trash. So we'll have to see what I get this year. Hopefully plants. All right, so please join us. If you are interested, you can come here. We'll meet up at 8 a.m. and then that goes to about 11, right?
A little late lunch.
Okay, public comments. I'll call your name and then you can come to the podium. Rick Urban.
Hi, Rick Urban, 54 Carlson Way, Downtown. A couple comments on the Lloyd Farm. The for sale sign, that's come up before. I want to know why that sign is still there. You have an ordinance that says once the property is sold, it has to come down in 7 days, and it's been like a year. Unless you can tell us that the property is again for sale.
I don't have any information that it would be for sale. Ms. Camp, do you have any?
I don't know, I mean, you can tell the zoning officer.
Okay. So the sign should have been down like last April. It's still there. So I'd like to see that sign now. And secondly, I've owned some properties myself, and the property that's there right now, you just can't turn your back on it and just allow weeds to grow 2 and 3 feet. It's right across the street from my house, my neighbor's homes. There's weeds. It's all being overgrown. Obviously the farmer's not working the field this year. Corn was nice, the soybean was nice, but now it's all weeds. And I'm sure you have an ordinance that it can't be over a foot. And I can tell you right now, a lot of it's over 2 or 3 feet. So I'd like that taken care of as well.
That's something that Ray Stackhouse would look into.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your last name. Joseph?
Joseph Krupkala, 10 Joseph Court, downtown. It was about a month or maybe even 2 months I spoke to you about the traffic light at Lloyd Ave Manor. It happened then this past weekend and today. My wife was driving with me in the car, and the cars coming out of that gas station or making that left-hand turn when we're getting ready to make a right-hand turn and they just go right in front of you. Today it happened to me again. I had a pickup truck, I would say about maybe 10, 15 feet from me as I'm making my right-hand turn. You told me that the PennDOT light, that you're going to see about having that changed. That was something that was on schedule, or you're going to do something about it. Can you tell me when it's going to be done?
Ms. Denny, do you have an update?
Actually, Mr. Polakowski's been working with Mr. Federico and then
Yes, the township traffic engineer has looked at that light. There is part of that light is not functioning correctly, and the signal services is the signal company that's under contract. They're working with the manufacturer to get the update to the video card so it will function correctly.
Right.
So it's still it's being worked on. It just hasn't been corrected because the parts. But the township traffic engineer is working with the Department of Public Works and also your contracted signal maintenance company to fix it.
But how long is it going to take? This has been going on for a while.
Well, as of 2 weeks ago, they were still working on getting it's a memory card.
Yeah, I know, I told signal service before, so.
Yes. They haven't gotten an updated card yet.
Yeah.
That was 2 weeks ago. I can find
All right. Can you keep us notified of what's going on with it?
Okay, Mr. Polakowski, can you provide an update at the next meeting?
All right, thank you.
Okay, and Joe Wright.
Joe Wright, 400 Lloyd Avenue. I was talking to Paul Lutz today with PennDOT, and is it Brian or Ryan? Brian. I just talked to Brian before the meeting started with this discussion with Paul. Paul works for PennDOT and is in charge of basically what I call the signaling of the Lloyd Avenue Bridge. I talked to him about it, and we had discussed at this township that we were looking into temporary traffic signals to go with, and then see if we liked it, and if we liked it, to put permanent ones in. He actually lives on South Lloyd Avenue, so he's very familiar with this particular bridge and the problems that we're having, the backups that Mark was talking about, that Cheryl's talking about, that run 35, 40 cars sometimes down Lloyd Avenue. He basically said that the township's just wasting their money if they're going to go and do this temporary project, that the permit's only good for a certain amount of time, that you guys are going to have to build foundations for these traffic trailers. They can't just sit there. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, because I know you had talked to the Paul or Al this afternoon. But he is kind of adamant that we actually request a permit for that and get going with the light. He said regardless whether the township does it or not, that light's going in. Basically, regardless whether we like it or not, that light's going in. It's going to be part of any development from anything that's on Manor Avenue, Rock Raymond, or Lloyd Avenue. So what I'd like to ask the commissioners is to basically try to save this money, go for the permanent permit, and get it done. I think saving some money is what we all want to do, and we're going to end up getting it anyway. The other thing is that PennDOT and Paul also said that he's willing to talk to you guys, or even the township residents, about how important this project is. He also said that PennDOT's willing to do a lot of the engineering. So what I'm suggesting to you tonight is, I think at one point, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, that we made a motion to look into it or spend the money for these portable traffic lights. And what I'm asking the board to do is rescind that and just go forward with the permanent permit.
Brian.
We said we would look at both options, but we didn't authorize any money yet.
Okay, I wasn't sure whether we voted on that to spend money to look into it or not.
We've had PennDOT design a couple lights for us. They do a good job. It takes a while.
Well, he can have this done in 2 months. And he said one of the reasons he thinks the whole thing is a bad idea is because he knows from living there that that will relieve the majority of the backups that we've had and control that bridge more efficiently than what it is now. He says, I'm convinced it will. In fact, they're even putting a brand new signal system in on the Boot Road railroad tunnel, which is actually in East Gallen, I believe, where that single lane bridge is. It's basically the same thing we have at the bridge, which is, you know, one car at a time and yield and all that. They're actually installing that as we speak, meaning the project is on its way to being finished. So he knows it's going to work. PennDOT knows it's going to work. I think we ought to just save the money or the projected money that we would have spent on temporary trailers and get it done, because he said even if you did that, what you're going to do is you're going to tick off the residents anyway. Because once you do that for 30 days or 60 days or whatever you're going to do it, whatever the permit's good for, he says once you take that down, you're still going to need 2 months to get it in, which means that they're going to go from a controlled situation to an uncontrolled situation, and that's only going to make people mad. So my recommendation to the board is to start planning on making it permanent and get this done. Any questions for me? Brian, any questions?
No, I'm good. Do you have any questions for me? I did speak with Al Federico and give you an update. I did speak with Al Federico this afternoon, and he did meet with Paul Lutz today as well and talk with Paul about the project. And Paul is supportive of the project, supportive of the light, and Al and Paul discussed the timing, because there's a timing requirement in that, and currently Al and I are working on drafting up a cost estimate for the board on the surveying cost, because it has to be surveyed, the engineering cost to design the lighting system, and the timing. Paul has to approve it, but we have to present the plan to Paul, and that's currently what's being done right now.
All right. Did he speak about the fact that he's volunteering his engineering to help us out?
Paul and Al talked about the timing.
Okay.
Yes.
But
that's
I'm
the
talking
engineering.
about the assistance with the engineering.
The engineering is the timing of the light system.
Okay,
The engineering actually laying out where the lights go and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Paul, that's on us.
Well, I still think Paul offered that. So I'd like you to, if you could, to check on that, because the way he talked, he would save a lot of time and money by offering his engineering services. And it was basically not for the timing of the light. They already have the timing of the light straightened out as far as how it's going to work. And just for the audience, I'll tell you, those lights will be red all the time. Cars that are coming down Lloyd Avenue, southbound or northbound, will trip the light when they get close to it. It will turn green, and it will stay green until the traffic's through, usually around 20 seconds. Then it's going to turn back red. It'll be red constantly until one person on either side trips it. It'll allow approximately 20 seconds worth of cars to go through, then turn back to red. And part of the reason going back to red is to control the speed of the traffic. They feel that if they know that you have to be right on top of that light to change it, that people are going to slow up, and they have to slow up. It doesn't guarantee it's going to trip the green, because somebody from the other side could trip it before they get to that. So they're definitely going to have to stop, or they'll get a green. So that's the way they had it planned, and basically that's what they spoke to me about. So I think it's a good idea. If you want to follow up, that's fine with the engineering costs and stuff like that.
That's what we need to look at before we move forward with anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You know, I just am trying to reject the portable part.
Okay. You're welcome.
That was everybody on the list. If anybody else wants to give a public comment, I ask that you come up here.
I just have one last comment. I'm Mark DeYoung at 20 Beaver Run Road. I got here early one time this year, and there was an executive session going on. Josh offered to leave me in the hallway, which is fine. I took today to look up the PA Sunshine Act, and you are allowed to have executive sessions from time to time under 7 different circumstances. But you're also required immediately before or immediately after to let us know what the topics of that conversation was. That did not happen that night, and I don't know how often you meet in executive session, but if you meet in executive session, you have to let the audience know.
We very rarely meet in executive session, and when we do, we put on our agenda that we had an executive session to discuss legal and personnel matters. And from my understanding, that's what we're required to.
Well, you can do that for legal and personnel matters, right, but nothing was told to us that night. I don't remember being on the agenda.
I keep every agenda, I don't have it with me tonight. What was the date, and I'll look it up. Do you remember?
Don't remember the date.
Okay, I'll bring my stuff next time, and then.
I can't remember the last time I've been to an executive session, so there wasn't. I mean,
We haven't been having.
there haven't been
It was probably a couple of months ago.
We have interviews sometimes, which is not an executive session. We have
Right.
2 interviews this evening, and then we're not allowed to discuss agenda items.
Right, you're not allowed to deliberate on official action matters. So just because they're all meeting, if they're doing something that's not related to an official action, it's not a violation of sunshine law.
No, I'm not saying they're violating the sunshine law that way by not notifying us that they had an executive session.
But you're not, but what you're assuming is that because they were all in the back, that was a quote executive session, and it might not have been what she's saying, it might have been an interview.
It was an executive
Okay,
session.
well, I wasn't there, but.
Because it says.
It was, because I let them in.
Okay.
But typically it's on our agenda, and Jennifer, it says right after school flag, it says on our agenda that we had an executive session.
Because
to discuss.
Legal and personnel
It
matters.
reads, the specific reason for an executive session must be announced in the public meeting, either before or directly after the executive session. So it must be announced, probably not just put on the agenda either. So it does say announced. Thanks.
Okay, Mrs. Callahan, you had a comment.
Kathy Callahan, and I should have spoken before about this, the flex space, or after the flex space. It was on the agenda a lot. I lost sleep over it a lot. And it was always on the agenda, and you always made us aware. Like I said, as much as we didn't want it, you did make everyone aware, and I didn't want to just go home and not say that, and you guys get beaten up over that one. So anyway, so I thank you for telling me about the flex space and putting it on the agenda. And I know nobody spoke up and said that you did that, and you guys did. So I just wanted to have that on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else have any public comments? Can you come up to the podium? I'm sorry, we missed where I asked for that.
Okay. Mark Evans, 103 Erwood Drive, Cowan Township. I hate to come up and say anything since I was so late, but I had to close the office. Has anyone mentioned this really nasty accident on Lloyd this week? All right. I leave for work around 7:30. I normally take a right and go over the bridge, and it was yesterday or the day before. It's been that kind of week. Came out, it's backed up at the bridge, so I decided, make a left, and I'll take the bypass down. And as I came around the curve, just before I get to Geo Carlson, everything stopped. Cars off on the side of the road. There's a pickup truck upside down with the glass all blown out, and 4 other cars that have been involved in this accident. At 7:40 in the morning on Lloyd Avenue. Now I know that speed limit was raised to 35 on Lloyd, which again, most places where there are pedestrians have laws that keep it at 25 because the odds of surviving a car accident at 25 are much higher than at 35. Mr. Wilson, I'm sure you're You're not going to flip a pickup truck over if you're doing 25. You're not going to flip it over if you're going 35. So this truck had to have been, this car that T-boned the truck had to have been going at least 40. Just want to get this out there. We need to start doing something about this. Our speed limits are too high to begin with. And on a road like Lloyd, people are taking advantage of it. And someone's going to get killed. I said this 2 weeks ago. I think I said it 2 weeks before that. Someone's going to get killed very soon. And especially if you're thinking about allowing development at Lloyd Farm. It's already too dangerous. So. And I also wanted to say, my heart goes out to all of you. I'm sure that you have heavy hearts with Mr. Contento having to leave. So I just want you to know that I feel for you all. And thank you for your time.
Any other public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. 8, we're adjourned.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you. We need all help we can get.
Yeah.